All right, fellas, 2001 monolithic with another amp. Got another Orion here. Want to show this one. Talk about it for a little bit. This is the um, third generation. Everything I've shown previously is second generation or earlier. This would be the third, which is known as the pop tops. That's because it has this top here, and I'll show you. I have the pins for it to hold it on, but I left them out because I'm trying to show this amp real quick. And then the top here, you got it. It's milled into the finish just like the older amps. This one just says XTR 275 Extreme Power crossover. That's because they added this crossover setup on these amps. So you got a crossover here. This is a bypass card. You got dip switches, and that'll you can adjust that because you can not only cross over the signal that this amp's going to put out, but on this has outputs. That's the first time I'd seen on Orion they have outputs on the amp. Usually it's just input RCAs, and so you can daisy chain these, and then you can send a crossover signal to your next amp too. So off of one of these, you could run like an interior amp and then a sub amp, and then you could maybe daisy chain that down the line. But yeah, so it's a little goofy how it's done. They got all these jumpers you got to adjust, and then depending on where you put them, selecting crossover frequency, and then these dip switches, whether or not you want to just send a, if you have a full signal coming in, you can send a full signal going out, and all that's adjusted with those. Or you can, say, hey, I want to send a crossover signal. But let's take a walk around this thing. I do want to show they got the Weko plugs, real similar to PPI, but those were, I believe, Molex brand. These, I don't know if I can get it on camera, but it says Weko right there. These are not ambidextrous like the PPI, because those you could flip either way and they would go in. These, you can see they're rounded and squared on one side, so that way it's only one way it can go in. I know on the PPI power plug, it was it had a little groove on one side that wouldn't go past the side plate, so you couldn't put your positive and negative correct here, but then switch it and put it in wrong on the amp. Show you real quick. Right here you got the DIN power light indicator. They no longer, which it's a bummer, they no longer have the clip indicators on the amp, but here's the right, in, left, and then this is output on the other side. There's your input gain. There on the end plate, that's where you could go in and pop the top off. You just got to get to these little pins right here. A lot of times these are missing. Another thing about this amp is, I would say, just in my personal experience, I've seen more 225 HCCAs than I have 275. They're both going to put out pretty much the same power, right around 400 watts max. Like probably, see, this will do it at 4 ohm, and then the 225 would do it at 2 ohm. Where the 225, you can see of this era, because I have the box, but this is actually a 225 box. I'll tell you right here, it's half ohm to 16 ohm stable. It's a high current, so this would be like the high power version. So just the rail voltage is a lot higher on this. And then this would be 75 watts times 2 at 4 ohm, and then 150 watts times 2 at 2 ohm, or 300 watts bridged at 4 ohm. But it actually it'll outdo that. The 275 was a real gem in the series of Orion. Those were SX. I don't know what these would be called. Probably XTR series, because previous to this it was a 275 SX in the second generation. So anyway, here's the end plate for the other side. This one's to get the Weko plug out. Somebody just chowdered this end plate, unfortunately. You can't really see it when it's plugged in, but so it does the remote, channel 1, channel 2. There's a 30 amp fuse holder, and lets you know positive, negative, and then there's also the cover release. Then you can see, so there's where your speaker plug and your remote is going to plug into on these posts, and then there's the other side. And then I do want to do, There goes the top. The show a gut shot. This amp's in actually really nice shape. For its age, I mean, these, I want to say, came out 94, 95, and maybe even, I don't know, they ran through like 97, 98, somewhere around there. So I don't know the exact dates on it. But looking at this in comparison to the previous Orion amps is quite a bit different from the second generation. These solid copper bars, there's 3 of them here, 1 of them here. Those were not on that series, the earlier series. And then it's just set up different because, you know, you got your crossover network in here. That didn't exist. They still are laying the transistors flat against the board, which I like. I don't know why nobody does that anymore. But I mean, it is a gorgeous amplifier. Real sharp looking. Try and do a better steady shot here. There we go. You can see the power supply, real beefy. And output section. But yeah, real slick amps. Let's see. Now this, and I got sent a manual, but it's the HCCA manual. But other than where it does its power, it should list specs on these. Let's see if I can find it with one hand here. Hold on, bear with me here. There we go. All right, so it would be similar to the 225, just doing its power at different ohm levels. So it's not 2 by 25, it'd be 2 by 75 at 4 ohm. Distortion 0.02 at between 20 and 20,000 hertz. Frequency response 6 hertz to 30,000, so throughout the band. Signal noise 100 dB, which is really good. Input impedance 10,000 ohms. Input sensitivity up to 5 volts, which is great. There's output load, which that's going to be different for this amp. Current draw says 30 to 35 amps. Fuse size 30 amps ATC. Dampening factor greater than 200. Slew rate 30 volts per millisecond, which has been the same for Orion from the first series all the way through this 3rd series. And then it's just telling you, it's got the selectable signal jumper, bypass or full range, selectable through the crossover jumpers that I was showing, and then mixed and summed, selectable through signal jumpers. Instead of, they used to have that button or whatever. But the amp is 12 by 8.5 by 2 1/4 high. Anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to show that. And then also, something that's really come in handy with me in these amps that I wanted to show. I picked this up. I got this, it's like a little multi-tool deal. And, man, this thing has really come in handy. It's got all the Torque and Allen and Phillips flathead, Star, even some really funky ones, really tiny ones. Those Torques with the safety in it or whatever. But I picked this up, I believe, at a Meyer, and there's nothing I've run into that I couldn't take apart with this. So it's coming real handy. But anyway, that's about it for the Orion 275 XTR. Thanks.